Our country has some extraordinary drive and ride routes, but to find them you have to venture deep into the countryside and document them. For this recce ride, we had 4 very different but equally fun bikes to see how each fared on the same route. The most beautiful bike subjectively is the fully loaded Indian Scout 101, which had Odin dampers, a water-cooled 1250cc V-twin, Brembo brakes and the loveliest soundtrack. It always drew the most amount of eyes on this trip, followed by the raciest bike we had for the day, the Aprilia RS 457. We had tested this bike on a go-kart circuit, but out here it was a different ball game from the Petite Italian. Then we had Royal Enfield's latest darling from the 650 twin family, the Interceptor Bear 650, which had race suspension, USD forks, and an extra 4 Newton meters of torque from a 2-to-1 exhaust system. Finally, another Royal Enfield, the Guerrilla 450, the only single in this bunch, the most un-Royal Enfield-ish Royal Enfield of them all. We kicked off from our office in Sri Damansara, and like all good bike rides, we started with a hearty breakfast made of thosai, roti canai, chicken, mutton and loads of coffee. Our office was quite close to the Rawang bypass, so we rolled down Route 1 over the Rawang bypass. There was a reasonable amount of traffic on the road, but not much until it hindered progress. We stopped at the BHP at Serenda for a few stops before heading out again on Route 1. Since the traffic on Route 1 was busy, we decided to take a detour on a more scenic route. The B44 goes between Tanjung Malim to Berang and then towards Sabah and the WCE. But it's the stretch between Tanjung Malim, Gedangsa and Berang that are the best. We have done countless drives here using cars, but this time it was a different experience with the bikes. The route starts with flowing corners that can carry relatively generous speeds. Then it becomes super twisty. The easiest bikes out here were the Guerrilla, thanks to its moped-like riding setup, followed by the Bear 650 which had loads of torques. The Indian required the most amount of effort, but it's the Aprilia that shined here. We let the video footage do the rest of the talking. We stopped at Berang for a quick drink and bite before setting off onto the 4 bikes again. The whole town had their eyes glued to the Indian. After gearing up, we used Route 1 to head to Slim River and on the second drive route. The A134 is a wide and sweeping road with lovely elevations and a nice viewpoint at one of the stops. We could open up our bikes safely out here. It was the Indian rider that had desperately needed it, as it was training on its neck with 111 HP, the biggest output here. The view were pretty spectacular on the way down until we reached a T-junction. After regrouping, we would cruise down the 1154 behind Gunung Besut. Despite it being a straight-ish road, it's good to observe caution in case any farm vehicles cross the road. Also, you have to watch out for potholes like this one. The road goes across oil palm plantations which are cleared for replanting, which gives a nice vista as you ride along. We then turned towards Lada Bikam by riding through the A189. There was a little bit of wet patch but soon dried as we entered the Lada Bikam road. Once we cleared the traffic, we could stretch the bikes through this mildly twisty road. It cuts through a fruit plantation. However, as we approached the small town where the food stalls are, the skies opened up. We stopped to check if anyone in our team wanted to change to their rain gear. But in true male fashion, everyone decided to get drenched as we headed towards our stop at Telok Intan in complete monsoon rain. We stopped just outside of Telok Intan to dry off our gear and to admire the bikes we brought. At this stage, the bikes were still doing just fine coping with our back roads, and we were still smiling. We came to Telok Intan not because of the Perak River that snakes around it, but also to check out the leaning tower. The Oriental design tower was meant to store water. It's 88 feet tall and 3 stories high, with 100 steps leading to the top of it. Today, it no longer functions as a water tower, but as a clock tower and an Insta-worthy tourist attraction only. And from above, you can see how the mighty Perak River goes around the town. With pictures taken, we headed towards our third stop on the trip before reaching our end destination. As we rode out of Telok Intan, we saw a pair of students riding a classic 350. We got to see a lot of Royal Enfield bikes in this trip, especially on the way back. It was cool to see that even young Malaysians appreciate a unique brand like Royal Enfield. From there onwards, we could go past endless paddy fields on the flowing roads. Past Kampung Gajah, Kota Kanan on the 109 before entering the A17 towards Parin. The final part via A17 was amazingly entertaining, but our GoPros ran out of juice due to a malfunction in charging equipment, robbing us of the highlight footage of the trip. We took another fuel stop at Parin, right next to the upstream part of the Perak River. We got to reflect our bikes a bit. The Guerrilla was the easiest to handle with loads of poke from a rev-happy Sherpa single. The Bear, on the other hand, was riding on the torque of the 650 twin, with loads of wonderful sounds coming from it. It does require a bit of heft to move it about. The corner cover was the Aprilia, with its potential best shown when the roads really began to twist. Equally fast, but on the other side of the running spectrum is the Indian Scout. It's got plenty of pace, more than the Aprilia, but you really need some skill to prep when tackling our back roads. Mainly manageable due to the mountain of torque over its relative low weight. All four bikes were pretty comfortable to ride up here, but it was the Aprilia that was a little challenging due to the seat padding, which sent a fair bit of vibration to the rider. We spent a considerable amount of time basking in the beauty of the Perak River, the second longest river in Peninsular Malaysia, before gearing up towards Taiping. We hit Taiping by riding to Kuala Kangsar and using Route 1 via Changkat Jering. It was already nightfall by the time we reached. At this point, we have ridden nearly 350 kilometers via lovely detours. We were positively tired and hungry. We checked into our overnight stay and had a warm shower, dinner and called it a night. Day 2 greeted us with gloomy skies over Taiping, the wettest town in Malaysia. It rains so frequently here they used to run bets on when it would rain. We headed to the staple of Taiping cuisine, casual market in the heart of the town for brunch.
Should be okay lah. Okay, right?
Thanks to some miscommunication, we had the fattest rojak ayam ever, together with mee combat, satay and the very generous beef mee goreng. Our plan was to ride out to the park for a quick shoot as the drizzle subsided, but the rain only got worse by the minute, and after waiting for 2.5 hours, we knew it was not stopping. So we geared up and decided to ride in the storm, hoping that it would subside later on. What we didn't know is that we were riding straight into the biggest storm to hit Malaysia's west coast in 24 years. We decided to take the WCE down south, and since there are no rest stations between Taiping and Sabah, we topped up our fuel tanks to the max and headed down the West Coast Expressway. At the time, we didn't realize it, but on the way down, the storm only grew stronger as we rode. We never saw the sun on this Sunday at all. As the rains grew heavier, we moved to a more defensive riding stance, admiring the scenery and enjoying getting soaked as we rode down south. Although most vehicles on the highway were cautious, one X70 Proton flew past us at considerable speed. The driver would pay the price for their negligence precisely 60 seconds later. This car would collide with another car that had already crashed. There were highway patrolmen already at the scene, thankfully. We rode past it and didn't seem like anyone was seriously hurt. With the rain absolutely pouring, we decided to stop for a while. Thankfully, the WCE had plenty of covered stop areas like this along it, with good access in and out each. We were chatting with other bikers who stopped too, but after 1 hour, the rain showed no signs of stopping. So we decided to press along, as we intended to reach Selangor before sunset.
Okay bang. Dua.
And we did, drenched and cold. By the time we hit our studio in SS3, we had covered 280 kilometers, with a total round trip of 660 kilometers. We wouldn't see the sun until Tuesday that week, forcing us to cut short on the beauty shots we had planned for the bikes that we had brought, which was a shame because that Indian was achingly beautiful and would have really stood out on the green backdrop of the Taiping Lake Gardens. But this is the necessary recce that we have to do across various riding and driving roads on the country. We can't wait to scout for more roads and add to our database of 100 routes and organize more drives and rides events on these routes with our members. To get more information on our events and to join our group, click the link in the description and subscribe for more videos like this.